Unfortunately, we have some very sad news to report in the aftermath of the Orange County 200. 26-year-old Scott Morales, driver of the number 78 car for Groves Racing, passed away due to injuries sustained in his accident on the 82nd lap of the first round. The news of his passing did not reach anybody at the Orange County Fairgrounds until about 3 o'clock in the morning, which was about 3 hours after the race had ended. Morales had only one victory to his name in the ARLA Elite Series, which came at Daytona in 2010. Several teams came out to pay tribute to Morales this weekend. M&J Racing, Tiffany Matthews, and Jack Dempsey showed up with all black cars, and several other cars ran with stickers bearing Morales' number 78. Our condolences are with Morales' wife, Andrea Canassa, as well as the rest of his friends and family. Groves Racing will not be competing for the rest of the season, but they did bring one of their cars for Daniel Leckleiter to parade around the track during the pace laps for round one. Leckleiter and Morales were very good friends dating back to their days in sprint cars, and Leckleiter wanted to pay tribute to Morales in this fashion. Also, Bill Tissam and Todd Stater, who were involved in Morales' accident, will not be racing for the rest of the year. They have voluntarily stepped out of their own cars for emotional reasons. Dan Richards will drive the Team Thunder 07 car, and Hungarian driver Lenore Scurry will be behind the wheel of the 15. The Cromwell Pullord went to Carlo De Prato for round one and Taylor Brillin for round two. And here is Dan Leckleiter pacing the field in the 78 car, once driven by his close friend. The crowd and the PA system remained silent as Leckleiter paraded around the track. And then Leckleiter followed the pace car into the pit lane, handing over the control of the start to Carlo De Prato. Michael Madrigal in the 64 will be starting on De Prato's outside, and De Prato gets a great start over the 64 car. That is Harry Inola and his teammate Ashley Tucker in third and fifth. In fact, all 5 of the Riggs Motorsports cars qualified inside the top 10. Harry Inola wants to go at the lead, but he is going to be thwarted by his teammate Tucker. Tucker's got Jason Bates right behind her, but then behind Bates is Tucker's other teammate, Ricky Navarro, in the Starshine Sally colors this week. The leaders are still 3 wide coming into turn number 3. Nobody has a very clear advantage yet, although the inside line is generally preferred at these super speedways, as you see Ashley Tucker start to nose ahead. Tucker will be in the Bjorn Green number 90 car next season. We believe she will be sharing that car with Barton Sandy. Here is Ryan Gregory in the number 97 car for Nitro Racing, running well off the pace on lap number 4. Ryan Gregory was re-signed to that team for 2013, though I don't know what they see in him. On lap number 6, you have Jenny Kuznetsov is back to 29th place. Kuznetsov entered this race second in points, 76 points behind Ebenezer Quiggles Jr., so this is not what Kuzi needs to catch up to Quiggles. Well, I'm not too sure whether he doesn't have the pace or if he's just hanging back hoping to avoid trouble. Jason Bates got shuffled out of line and is on his way towards the back of the field. Oh, there's contact between Dempsey and Forstrom. Bates gets turned onto the apron, and you have Jenny Kuznetsov in the 82 gets collected as well. Oh, and there's smoke coming from the 82. I think Kuzi's done. Jason Bates, Lucy Barnton, and Robert Scott are going to have to drop out as well. But that's got to be gut-wrenching for Yevgeny Kuznetsov. You absolutely cannot have things like this happen to you with just a few races left in the season. About half of the field pitted under this caution. Ricky Navarro led on the restart with Ashley Tucker, Edwin Schwartzlowski, and Allie Riggs behind him. Laura Cyrus is up to 5th in the 102 car. She came into this race 3rd in points and could potentially really capitalize on Yevgeny Kuznetsov falling out. In the meantime, Navarro has a safe lead for the time being as Edwin Schwartzlowski was focused on fighting Ashley Tucker for 2nd. Navarro's only win in the ARLA Elite Series came at Daytona, a super speedway very much like this one. He's been fairly fast ever since then, but just never got the opportunity to win another race. And now Schwarzlowski is really hounding the 34 car, but here comes Allie Riggs in the 19, trying to shuffle Schwarzlowski out of line for second. Allie Riggs would eventually take the lead, but now here comes her sister Leslie with a charge on the inside. And now Navarro makes it 3 wide for the lead among the Riggs Motorsports drivers. Well, the worst kept secret in the world is that Allie Riggs is going to be defecting from that team, and she'll be starting up her own operation with the help of her boyfriend Chris Johans. And when her sister first heard about that potentially happening, she told us that Allie doesn't know how good she's got it at Riggs Motorsports. Rip Tyler is making his way towards the front right now. He is coming off of his 3rd win of the season. Power Steering Incorporated has been very fast in this last month. I believe they've gotten 5 wins in this last month alone. Yeah, it seems that everybody's starting to catch up to the pace that Ebenezer Quiggles has shown with the Fluffy Penguin Onion Burger team. Quiggles has 4 wins this season, the most of any driver, but he has not won a race since Buffalo Downs. And now, all of a sudden, the drivers who hold the 2nd most wins are Rip Tyler and Libby Bell with 3. Ricky Navarro makes another go for the lead on his teammate Leslie Riggs. And now it is Riggs Motorsports cars occupying the top 4, and the anomaly in the top 5 is Michael Madrigal in the 64. He drives for M&J Racing, which, let's face it, is practically the same team anyway. Madrigal caught a bit of heat for wrecking Tiffany Matthews under caution last week, which he received a 50-point penalty for. When we interviewed Madrigal after the accident, he said that his steering locked and he wanted to go find Tiffany Matthews and apologize to her. Well, he made it sound like it was unavoidable, but I'm pretty sure that it wasn't. He had quite a bit of time to stop his car before driving her into the wall. That is if his steering really did lock. You think he had a problem with Tiffany Matthews? If he did, I'm not sure what started it. Maybe she bumped into him before the race and spilled his drink. Yes, I remember that happening to another M&J driver all too well. Barton Sandy's been running off the pace in the 999 car. We're getting reports that he dropped a cylinder. He qualified in 27th place and was making his way towards the front of the field before the first caution, but clearly things are going south for him, and things are going south for Ryan Matthews in the 106, who has blown his engine and dropped below the apron there. Leslie Riggs leads the race, but she's going to get held up by the lapped car of Scott Dalitz, who is involved in that accident on lap 11. And now here comes Edwin Schwarzlowski with a run to the inside, but Dalitz moves down to block him. In the driver's meeting, they tell you to hold your line if you're about to get lapped, and I don't call that holding your line. Then again, in a lot of the drivers' meetings that I've been in, I've seen Scott Dalitz listening to music. They don't really seem to care whether or not you actually pay attention. And now here is Michael Madrigal in the 64 coming into the pits on lap number 31. Now, this is a little bit early, and we believe that this is an unscheduled pit stop for Madrigal, as he would be held up in his pit stall for a while and lost a lap. So that's a tough break for Madrigal, who had been running up towards the front the whole time. Ashley Tucker and Isaac Leitner come in on the next lap. I believe this is scheduled. On lap number 34, Leslie Riggs will give up the lead to Pitt, handing off the lead to her teammate Harry Enola. Allie Riggs and Lawrence Burr, as well as Rip Tyler, follow her in. And now here is the 3-car battle for the lead between Carlo DePreto, Harry Enola, and Lane Cranston, lurking back there in the 114. These cars pitted along with about half the field under the caution on lap 11, and so they can go for about 10 more laps on fuel. I'm not sure why they didn't just pit with everybody else, because they're going to be running by themselves like this, while it is likely that everybody else who pitted is going to be able to form a large pack and start chasing them down. Then again, maybe they're hoping for a caution because they've got several cars trapped a lap down at this point. Well, if they were hoping for a caution, they weren't going to get it. The top 3 cars pit on lap number 42. However, Harry Enola got a black flag for speeding and would have to serve a stop-and-go penalty. Well, things went south for Enola very quickly. Enola only has 2 wins to his name in this series, and the rest of the time, things like this just happen to him, or he just isn't there at the end of the race. When everything cycles out, Allie Riggs is the leader, with Andy Pearson in the 2 trying to chase her down. Allie Riggs, after winning 3 races last season, has yet to win a race this year, and Andy Pearson, who has 60 wins in this series, has not won a race since 2010. Well behind Allie Riggs and Andy Pearson would be Carlo DiPreto, who maintains the 3rd position after pit stop cycle out, but now he's being hounded by Edwin Schwartzlowski in the 66 as they come up on Herbie Finkelberg, and Schwartzlowski almost turns the 26 coming off of turn 2. Leslie Riggs, Ricky Navarro, and, Nikos Kostopoulos, and Ashley Tucker are looking to get into this battle themselves. Nicole Moreno is running a lap down and off the pace after receiving damage in the lap 11 crash, and apparently Bixby Foot has enough of her and just turns the 56 in turn 3. And Laura Cyrus in the 102, another championship contender, gets involved in this, but Cyrus receives very little damage compared to Yevgeny Kuznetsov, who of course had to fall out of the race. The race would restart on lap 60 of 67. Allie Riggs leads over Andy Pearson still, and Riggs really caught Pearson sleeping on that start. Rick Tyler and Scott Dollitz are a lap down, and that is Ashley Tucker running in 3rd. As the laps wind down, Ricky Navarro would come through to the front. Is he going to try to challenge Riggs or cut his teammates some slack? Team orders benefiting Allie? No, I don't think so. As you can clearly see, Ricky Navarro makes a run for the lead himself. Navarro is going for his first win since 2005. That was 7 years ago. But he's facing immense pressure from Edwin Schwartzlowski, and Andy Pearson has made his way back to the inside and is coming towards the front once again. But Allie Riggs has the momentum on the outside, getting a little push from her sister. Well, I don't think Leslie Riggs is going to be of much help to the 19 either. They aren't exactly on speaking terms. Well, Allie Riggs still has a lot of momentum on the outside. This could potentially be a photo finish we're looking at. I don't think they're going to hold it 2x2 like this. Somebody is inevitably going to make a move as we get towards the final laps and people start to get a little crazier. Navarro is not really hugging that yellow line. Schwartzlowski has really been trying to size him up, and there he goes, making a move to the bottom, 3 wide for the lead, but Riggs gets a big push towards turn 3. Schwartzlowski broke up those neat rows they had going. Navarro lost all of his momentum, and Allie Riggs kept hers. And Allie Riggs maintains the lead, coming to the white flag. She is currently being challenged by Carlo DiPreto, but Edwin Schwartzlowski is making a run at him for 2nd. There is Nikos Kostopoulos up to 4th. Kostopoulos had a number of top 10 runs in the first half of the season, but he's fallen off just a little bit. Although this is really going to boost the 728 team's morale if he can hold the position. Leslie Riggs making a run for 3rd on the 728. And nobody is really able to challenge the 19 right now. Schwartzlowski, I think, is gaining on Allie Riggs too little too late. Coming off the final corner, down towards the line, it will be Allie Riggs taking her first win since 2011, and the 6th of her career. I wonder if she's still planning on breaking away from Riggs after this. You probably caught that little drag race between Edwin Schwartzlowski and Leslie Riggs down to the line. Schwartzlowski just edged Leslie Riggs. Andy Pearson is in 4th, Ashley Tucker 5th. Nikos Kostopoulos grabs another top 10 for the rather small 728 team. Their only source of backing is RacingExperts.com, and they're not giving that team too much funding from what I heard. Ricky Navarro is 7th, Carlo DiPreto is down to 8th, and he was just 2nd at the white flag lap. Lawrence Burr is 9th, and then Isaac Leitner brings home a top 10 for Gravity Racing. Now on to round number 2. Taylor Brillen leads the field to the green flag with Kyle Gaffigan on her outside. Brillen has one other pole this season, which came at Daytona, so the 65 team obviously has their super speedway program together. Brillen starts to break away from Gaffigan coming into turn number 1, And shuffling into the third spot is Tom Delgado, who recently retired from full-time competition in the TM Master Cup Series. We believe he will still be running some ARLA races here and there, though. And now, Kyle Gaffigan makes a run at Taylor Brillin coming into turn number 3. That jump she got is not going to work out for her, as Leigh Gruelle follows the 37 car off of turn 4, and now he makes a run for the lead for himself. A bit deeper in the field, Namimura makes it 4 wide on Makoto Yamada, Todd Wlodarczyk, and Philip Borland. Nobody is backing down, and Mura pushes up into the 22. Coming off of turn 4, you should probably back down when you're sideswiping somebody, and Borland gets turned. He comes down to the 59 of Jessica Graham and then back into the 71 car, and a crash is going to ensue behind Mura. Jacob Eichholz gets into the pie car with nowhere to go. He goes up onto his side and up into the catch fence. And he barrel rolls down turn number 1. That's a big, big pile up on just the second lap of this race. Lev Azarov in the 88 is making his first start for Rus Autosport. He got caught up in this. The track is almost completely blocked as people just start piling in. That was a very, very scary ride that Jacob Eichholz took, but fortunately, he was okay. Aaron Singer in the 111 car is making his first super speedway start. He was rather off the pace at Orange County, but he gets through this wreck without a scratch. Leigh Gruelle leads in the race back to the caution flag, but here comes his new teammate, Mariano Zavala, the Venezuelan in the 47 car, who has been well off the pace in these last few weeks, but he seems to be at home at these super speedways, and he takes the lead at the caution. And Zavala will lead Gruelle at the restart. Mac Ryland in the 86X is in third place. Tiffany Matthews in the black 116 car is fourth. Matthews, as we mentioned in the pre-race, is one of the several teams paying tribute to Scott Morales this week. And in fifth, going for fourth, is Ebenezer Quiggles Jr. in the Division by Zero car. He's trying to capitalize on the misfortunes of his fellow championship rivals, Yevgeny Kuznetsov and Laura Cyrus. Cyrus finished 27th in round 1, a lap down. Quiggles is now making it 3 wide for the second spot on Ryland and Zavala. Quiggles has been close to his 5th win of the season a few times. In fact, he was leading at Orange County until his engine let go. A few laps later, Tom Delgado would make his way towards the front, in front of his home crowd. Delgado has one victory in this series, the 2008 season finale at Daytona, back when Daytona held the season finale. But I think that a win at his home race would be much bigger than that. Casey Campbell is making her way towards the front of the field. Jennifer Goodwin, who is racing with a broken hand this week, is trying to make it 4 wide. And Campbell pushes up into Quiggles, and another big crash ensues in turn 1. The MRD cars of Hitsuno and Gaffigan are in there, and David Krikorian just came piling into the 6. Kevin Monroe is also involved in the 63 car. And Quiggles and Campbell are parked down there. Quiggles can't get his car started. I think he may be done. But before we look at that, here is David Krikorian running in a 4-car group right now. And he just came flying into the 6 car and took a very wild ride. Dan Richards in the 07 goes upside down as well, and there's another car overturned back there. Here is Dan Richards, the ASCC driver, and one of the many Team Thunder development drivers making his first start of the season. He almost made it through this wreck, but then he got tagged by Mac Ryland in the 86X. And the transition from the banking to the apron just flipped his car over. And here is Philip Borland looking from the aerial shot. I believe he was the other car that was overturned on the apron. There are the skid marks, and he just gets a face full of David Krikorian's car. And this was the same thing that we saw with Richards. The transition from the banking to the apron just flipped his car over. And this was a big wasted opportunity for Ebenezer Quiggles, although this was of no fault of his own. Casey Campbell moves up to let the 696 car in, and There were just too many cars going in for too small of a space. They didn't seem to learn from that first wreck where Namimura made that over-aggressive move and didn't back down until everybody was wrecking. Mura's got a bit of a history of making bonsai passes like that, and unfortunately Ebenezer Quiggles will drop out of the race. Tom Delgado continues to lead on the restart. Bobby Porto, Taylor Brillin, Mariana Zavala, and Lenore Scurry round out the top 5. Scurry's doing a pretty good job so far, filling in for Todd Stater in the 15 car. Although she is falling behind a little bit, apparently Green Racing does not have the strongest super speedway package. Scurry was called to sub in the 15 car after Todd Stater stepped out after his involvement in Morales' accident, and Stater could have very well been seriously injured as well. I almost had Bill Tissom's tire come through his windshield. So Stater was rather shaken up and is not running for the rest of the season, and Scurry did not have very kind things to say about Stater's attitude towards the whole situation. I can't quote exactly what she told the press before the opening practice, but she basically told us that she thought Todd Stater was not bold enough to compete in the series. Here's an interesting surprise. Patrick Henderson is running in the 8th position on lap number 19. He got through that big accident on lap 12 and found himself in the top 10, although he has been slowly dropping back. Henderson has been well off the pace for most of the season after a fairly impressive showing in the TMS Cup Series at Indianapolis, his first real shot at big league racing. It's kind of disappointing to see him struggling like this. The leaders have come across the lapped car of Aaron Singer in the 111. Zavala and Brillin make it 3 wide for the lead. The lead pack is down to just 4 cars. Bobby Porto is back there as well. Tom Delgado is trying to make it around the outside of Singer, while Zavala and Porto are giving him a push. Singer has been noticeably slower than the leaders, although not quite as much of a nuisance as some of the other lapped cars we've had today. A few laps later, Bobby Porto and Mariano Zavala fight for the lead. As they come across Paul Lyons, Zavala dives to the bottom, and he gets away while Lyons holds up everybody else. Brillin squeaks by for second. Porto and Delgado are forced to make a run around him on the outside. Oh, Delgado hooks Paul Lyons and almost causes a wreck right there, but thankfully everybody keeps it together. Aaron Singer was almost wrecked as well, and I believe that gave Tom Delgado a dent in the left side of the car. I'm not sure how much that's going to affect him. Tiffany Matthews, Jennifer Goodwin, and Namimura come in to try to take advantage of this setback. Makoto Yamada in the 22 is the next car that the leaders will come across, and this gives Delgado an opportunity to come back into the mix. Taylor Brillin currently leads over Mariano Zavala. Bobby Porto is third, and Matthews is now making a run at Delgado for fourth, as Delgado gets held up behind the 22. And now Zavala is making a run at the 65 for the lead. He's got a little bit of support from Bobby Porto on the bottom, and he will be able to take the lead without much of a problem. While this is turning out to be an impressive showing for Zavala, I don't think that Zenas is going to retain him for next year. In fact, I've heard his name being tossed around over at Team Burr. I can't say I would be surprised if Paul Lyons got booted from that team in favor of Zavala. And here is Paul Lyons holding up Zavala right now. Zavala will drop back to fourth. Now, Paul Lyons is not bringing any money to that 54 car, while Zavala has the Venezuelan government backing him. Bobby Porto and Taylor Brillin are going to hit the pit lane on lap number 34. This was around the same time that the leaders pitted in round number 1. Mariana Zavala comes in on the next lap, and Tiffany Matthews is going to stay out for a little while longer. I'm not sure if that's a wise decision of her, as she will be out there by herself. I believe that this is the battle for second between Namimura and Lucas Sweeney. Mariana Zavala is a lap down and is going to cut through these two. Mura had a rather big hand in causing that accident on lap number 2, and Sweeney was involved in the accident on lap 12. It's good to see that Sweeney is still able to run up towards the front. Mura and Sweeney would eventually hit the pit lane. Bobby Porteau would inherit the lead when pit stops cycle out. He is very far ahead of the rest of the field. However, the officials threw the yellow flag for debris on lap 46. We believe that Lenore Scurry threw something from her car, and that may have brought out the caution. So we will have to see what becomes of that. Porteau maintains the lead on the restart. And he's got Mariano Zavala and Tiffany Matthews breathing down his neck. And there are only about 9 cars on the lead lap right now. The combination of slow pit stops and the spread out field has put several cars a lap down. Kyle Gaffigan has made a nice recovery after being involved in the lap 12 accident. He is back up into 7th. We are pretty certain that Gaffigan is on his way out at MRD Motorsports, but we have heard his name being tossed around at Team Thunder. Gaffigan is the only MRD driver who started tonight that has not won a race this year, so I'm not terribly surprised that that team wants him gone. He actually got the ride in the first place at the recommendation of Kiriki Hitsuno and Atsura Technologies. Gaffigan and Hitsuno were teammates in Formula Overdrive last year when Hitsuno won the championship in that series. Oh, and Delgado hooks the back of the 116 of Tiffany Matthews and almost takes out Gaffigan. Delgado's made a lot of complaints about having to fix all the cars that get wrecked every week, and if he had wrecked Gaffigan, that would not have done himself any favors. However, Delgado rebounds nicely to make a challenge for the lead on Bobby Porteau. It looks like these 7 cars, Delgado, Porteau, Zavala, Brillin, Gaffigan, Sweeney, and Matthews, are going to be duking it out for the win as we approach the final laps of this race. Zavala makes a run at Delgado now. Zavala has arguably been the biggest surprise of tonight. When it was announced that he was coming into the series, a few of the people who had been racing in open-wheel cars did not have good things to say about him. Of course, open-wheel racing is Zavala's background. Delgado would be able to hold off Zavala for the lead, and here comes Paul Lyons, holding up the field once again. It looks like Lyons doesn't know where he wants to go. I think he's going to stick to the bottom and let the cars in the top lane by. Delgado gets through. Porteau is going to try to follow Brillin, the lapped car of Monroe and Namimura. Oh no, Lyons moves up to the high side now. A lot of lapped cars seem to be having trouble holding their line tonight. Delgado, Porteau, and Brillin get away, and this has really broken up that 7-car fight that was shaping up to occur. Taylor Brillin is now making a charge at Tom Delgado. Delgado throws the block, but he thinks twice at the last second. I think he could have cleared the 65, but it looks like he thought otherwise. She started in 2009 and has won 1 race per year. Bobby Porteau and Mariano Zavala currently fight for second as Brillin holds the center of the track. And here comes Makoto Yamada in the 22 once again. He holds up Bobby Porteau, and that drops him all the way to about 7th or 8th. I think Yamada did a good job at holding his line there, trying to set an example for all the other lapped cars. But Porteau got set so far back because Tiffany Matthews and Tom Delgado pounced on him. Mariano Zavala finds himself in 2nd place with just a few laps to go. Kyle Gaffigan is lurking back in 3rd. Gaffigan and his MRD teammate Joseph Howard had a drag race to the line at Daytona. Gaffigan was at the top, and it was shaping up to be a much closer battle, but Gaffigan got a little bit loose coming out of turn 4, and that gave Howard the boost that he needed to take the win. But Gaffigan currently doesn't quite have enough to make a charge. In fact, nobody really has enough to mount a charge. They are so spread out that nobody can really push each other. But regardless, Zavala is hounding Brillin as much as he can. Coming to the white flag, Brillin still holds the lead. Tom Delgado and Bobby Porteau are rocketing back towards the front. Those two have hooked up. Delgado and Porteau have gotten by Sweeney and are now making a run at Gaffigan for 3rd. In the meantime, Mariano Zavala is looking for just the right opportunity to strike. but Zavala in the Zenith does not quite seem to have anything for Brillin at the moment. The M&J Racing and Riggs Motorsports cars have been among the fastest all night, even in this super speedway racing, which is such a crapshoot. And oh no, Paul Lyons has come into the mix. He holds up the leaders. Brillin is scrambling to make a decision on where to go. She chooses the bottom. Gaffigan and Sweeney try to mount a charge, but Taylor Brillin will take the win in the second round of the Zing Energy 300. Mariano Zavala almost pulled off the upset, but the opportunity just never arose, and then Paul Lyons really threw a monkey wrench into things for him. Tom Delgado finishes third in front of his home crowd, although I think that a win was really what he was going for tonight. Delgado and Porto really rocketed towards the front in the final 2 laps. When they got hooked up, they were the fastest cars on the track. Kyle Gaffigan was set back to 5th. Lucas Sweeney is 6th. Tiffany Matthews 7th. Lenore Scurry fell off the pace a little bit, but she would hang on to 8th. Jennifer Goodwin is 9th. And then Kevin Monroe finishes in 10th. The first car 1 lap down. And now let's look at the point standings leaving the Zing Energy 300. Laura Cyrus moves back into second place. She is 74 points behind Ebenezer Quiggles Jr., so that's not much more of an advantage that Kuznetsov had coming into this race. Rip Tyler has moved to within 97 points of the lead. Bigsby Foot is up to 107 points behind, so that gives us 5 cars eligible for the championship if Rockford were next week. Andy Pearson is a rather distant 6th. He is 182 points behind the leader. Leslie Riggs is 7th. Libby Bell 8th. Rachel Rainsford is in 9th, and she is the first driver officially eliminated from championship contention. Tiffany Matthews is 10th. Calvin Araylor is 11th. Ashley Tucker is 12th. Bobby Porto 13th. Joseph Howard 14th. Eric Jackson continues to fall through the standings. He is 15th. Seiju Dejau is 16th. Alex Carson is 17th. Michael Madrigal 18th. Robert Scott is in 19th. And then Scott Dollitz rounds out the top 20.